Now, the topic for me to present is the guideline for the content review. Now, we all have been talking about content, but let me put all of us at one page right now. So, when I say content, what exactly I mean when I say content? Now, if you are a very long time NIF users, then I'm sure you're absolutely familiar with the use cases and words like DQL queries. So content in terms of DQL is this: DQL queries from widgets, workbooks, context queries in your widgets, your reports, the context queries in the modules, and query details in the module. uh, Coming to the next point, that why we want to do the review is because we need to make sure that the logic that's been embedded into your use cases stays current and keeps firing the alert the way you desired it 3 months ago or 6 months ago, or whenever your use cases were designed. How can you do your use cases review is exactly why I'm here to share those guidelines with you. Now, those guidelines are pretty extensive, but here in this next few minutes, I am going to share just few. When and how, when can you actually apply these guidelines to your use cases to do the review is something, we will come back to this question towards the end of this presentation, and also who can do this review, something that we will pick towards the end again. Now, before we really delve into the NIF specific guidelines for the review, let me let me tell you all that these guidelines are extremely specific to NIF. However, let me begin with something that's pervasive across all the SIM implementation, and this will help you reconfirm few facts of your own SIM implementation. So let's begin looking at few best practices for SIM. And when I say SIM, yes, absolutely any SIM. So let's begin with the best practices. Now, point number one, that are you sufficiently covered in terms of your log sources, right? I'm sure you guys have taken care of all these points, but there can be some pitfalls. So let's just go through them. And I think this picture is not really fitting. Yeah, I think this is more appropriate for the log sources in the SIM. First, to begin with, is the infrastructure devices. Now, this typically includes your switches, routers, wireless controllers, and access points. The logs can provide, now these logs can provide insights ranging from wireless access points hopping to hardware failures. Probably most impactful to your environment are notifications about the configuration changes. Moving on to the security devices. Now, these logs may be your first defense in understanding an attack in isolation, uh, or isolating an anomaly in your end user's experience. The logs on these security devices can provide a plethora of interesting information, as you are already aware. Um, if not just the health of your VPN or your IPS or IDS, and unusual user activities, etc. So security devices, I'm sure you guys have already considered. Authentication devices or authentication servers. Now, whether you are using an Active Directory or you're using any implementation of an open LDAP or any other alternative, knowing who and what is really poking around in your infrastructure, it can be a key to maintaining a good security posture. Now, each of your authentication server will provide some measures of logging, but what's the key for the understanding is what to really look for. So most commonly, you should be looking for a token request, authorization revocations, and authentication failures, etc. Moving on to the applications. This applies pretty much any application or any application log. Although some software applications will leverage the operating system's existing logging functionality for log management, these are becoming fewer and fewer. Now, most critical logs for applications are stored, unfortunately, in flat files. And those are residing on your disk somewhere, and getting them onto your SIM solution so that you can start comparing the transaction can become like a crucial step for you to integrate. So watch out for that. Next one is the client machines or endpoints. Yeah, really. I mean, sometimes it's the fault of an endpoint itself. Now, I'm not saying that every log on every machine needs to be collected at all the time. In fact, what I'm saying here is you should probably not do that. But selective log collection from the endpoints can be critical in gaining a larger grasp of the scope of the problem. Now, this is probably the most overlooked log type needed for actively troubleshooting issues. Coming on to, these are things I really, I'm hoping that you don't forget to look at, but just I'm reiterating. The first coming to the first one is the database logs. Now, I'm sure you all know that, database auditing and logging actually can compromise on your system's performance. So in that case, the database activity monitoring, or DAM, that comes very, very handy to rescue you. So DAM ingests and correlates built-in rules and alerts into your SIM and works just perfect in terms of a performance. The next point is about cloud platform logs. Now, more and more enterprises, as you're aware, are tuning to the cloud providers such as AWS or Azure and Google platform, or sometimes cloud services are provided by Salesforce, Dropbox, Office 365, and I'm sure you guys are using it. Yeah, the main challenge I feel in such cases can be the inconsistent logging formats, and it requires hence a different parsing style. Having a clear correlation rules on the cloud logs reveals something very priceless about your environment, and more on this topic, the use cases related to AWS will be picked up by Mukesh in our next session, and I'm really looking forward for that. Coming to the DNS, the logs from the DNS server provide a wealth of information about the site's user visit, show if malicious applications reach out to command and control sites. Now, DNS has also been successfully used, unfortunately, has been successfully used as tunneling protocol for exfiltration data. Yeah, since firewalls typically allow that kind of a traffic. So watch out. And the last one is my favorite, physical security logs. Now, obtaining event logs from the physical security applications, such as your cameras, your biometric card access readers, or your alarm system, is extremely valuable for cases involving insider threat. Combining these events with other evidences correlated from your security events, or the events which are generated from your security logs, they are essential to demonstrate a person's presence at the time of violation or whether their credentials are absolutely stolen. Yeah, so the last one is one of my actually favorite. Point number 2 in the SIM best practices is, are we all absolutely sure of our compliance requirements? Now, a huge driver in the adoption of SIM implementation is meeting our organizational compliance requirements. But what are those requirements? Sometimes that question is pretty hazy. And many organizations are impacted by multiple regulations, and the guidelines for complying with them can often overlap. And this is why, it's a good practice to draw up a specific document highlighting all compliance requirement at one point and get those covered in your SIM solution. Now, several vendors, they offer inbuilt functionality to support specific compliance mandates. But additionally, you need to bear in mind your auditing requirements, including how much log or event data you need to keep, what format it needs to be in, and how long you need to retain it for the compliance purposes. Right? Moving on to the next section, the correlation rules. Yeah, so correlation rules, I'm sure you are already aware that, if you are going to look at an event X and event Y in isolation, they may not make the picture fuller. So you have to correlate these two events and then derive the conclusion. So few of the examples, let me give you a few examples. The first one is, let's say there are 10 failed logins from one IP within a specific time frame, and the same IP making a successful login to any other system onto your network may indicate a brute force attack that's followed by a successful login. Now, this is possibly only when you correlate these two events. The next example is something I have seen happening in my previous experience. So typically your board meeting, board meeting material, the MOMs and the critical decisions, those are done during the board meetings. follow a certain pattern. Also your pen test report or your audit report will always be in a certain pattern for your organization. So watch out for those patterns. And let's say in a company wide layoff, like you may want to set up a correlation rule which goes something like this: that trigger an alert if more than 10 files of a specific type are copied to USB drive, sorry, or sent as an email attachment to a non-company domain. Yeah. So SIM software comes with its own set of pre-configured correlation rules, as I'm sure you're aware of. And a sensible approach to designing the correlation rules is to enable everything by default and then tune the software to your needs by removing the false positive. Now, you might also note sometimes that some events are not getting correlated at all. So you can create your own rules of these circumstances. Moving on to the next best practice is doing the test run for your SIMs. It's highly recommended to do that, and there are many tools available that can use to launch a simulated attack against your own IT infrastructure. Now, SIM testing is a huge topic itself, warranting an altogether separate Connect session some other day. The last part about here's what I want to present in the SIM best practices is always respond to your test. The SIM that you are choosing, guys, only does half of the job for you, and it's imperative to implement a proper incident response plan so that you can deal with the IT security incidents in a timely manner. Now, this entails defining how to alert relevant staff by either email or text, and what to do upon receipt of an alert from your SIM tool. Now, these are the typical steps, and it's pointless to actually me trying to educate this forum about these typical steps of the incident response. Let's go. Okay, I think that wraps up the best practices for SIM. Now, here is the time we can actually delve into the guidelines. So these guidelines are very, very specific to NIF. Number one, and these are just few, the list is quite exhaustive. I'm just going to present a few over here. Number one, pretty easy, straightforward to spot the status of your workbook. Yeah, make sure that all the workbooks are active, and if not, I'm sure there is a legitimate reason why a certain workbook is kept inactive. But if in that case, make sure that the reason is well documented, well revalidated, and you go back to revalidate that particular reason after certain periodicity. Now, let's take an example of why this is critical. Yeah, in the NIF health check workbook, yes, let's take that as an example. Now, this workbook shall alert your security analyst of any anomaly in the disk space, memory, or CPU usage, etc. Now, first of all, we highly recommend you to make use of the default package that the NIF has made available. And secondly, make sure that the workbooks are all active. The module raised by these workbooks can be investigated more efficiently with the help of alerts as they get logged in the inbox, right? Even if the dashboards to display the status of your NIF adapter, your NIF data store, or NIF correlator are operational and active, we still recommend you to use the workbook as it leaves a very solid trail requiring an investigation. Number two, that there is absolutely no data in the widget, and that's because a good amount of fine tuning has not really taken place, and that's why the widgets are all empty. So request you to quickly have a look at your use cases or your dashboards for any of such occurrences. Number three is making sure that the mechanism to send the alerts and report from the NIF is operational. So please check your SMTP configuration, and also don't forget, while you're doing that, the alert groups or the emails and the email groups that are to receive these alerts and reports are active. Like, there are some valid members sitting over there. Number four, Actually mapping your content or your use cases into any kill chain. Now there are many kill chains, there are various models which will help you formulate your own kill chain. Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain is one such. However, attack MITRE or MITRE attack framework has, it has quickly become one of the most definitive resources of hacker technique available today. Yeah, the cybersecurity community increasingly talks about cyber attack techniques in the attack terms and choosing a software based on the MITRE attack framework. Before I actually move on to my next section, let me remind you that there was a wonderful presentation done on the NIF Connect somewhere in the August. Mervin, if you can help just placing that link over here for our audience to later go and visit it, that would be really helpful. Yeah, thank you, Momin. So attack framework basically tries. So these are some really important questions, right? That who can target your organization? What techniques are the commonly used for the attack? What tools are being used? What's my current coverage? Can I really detect the adversarial technique? And what preventative controls I need to use? The attack framework answers these questions and make it easy to create heat maps of the attack techniques known to have been used against the similar peers in your industry. Yeah. Okay, talking about attack MITRE framework, if you haven't seen MITRE's instructional video about how to make use of the attack navigator, I will highly recommend you to do that. The attack MITRE navigator will help you make a heat map, something like this, right? Let me just quickly explain you this heat map. Now here on the screen, this organization is focusing on the APT groups that are typically targeting the financial institute. The red ones are used by all the attack threat groups, and the green ones are only used by few. So attack navigator can be used to create interactive heat map like this. And this particular heat map is known technique by, you on the top side, on the top left, you can see the name of the attack vectors, which is Carbonac, APT38, Fin7, Cobol group, etc. So as a part of your use case review, I am also recommending you to organize your detection logic by keeping your heat map, the heat map in your mind. So this heat map needs to be absolutely customized for your organization. Once we know, once we know who are our attackers, the next step can be your mapping your defense control, right? Because mapping your defense control will give you a clearer view of what you can do, or of what you can defend against. The next step to move on is tuning your detection. Now, the attack navigator, as you must have seen, that it has got 200 plus techniques. So instead of exhausting your organizational resources on defending against each of those 200 plus, I would recommend focus on the ones that have attacked the similar peers in your industry. Moving on to the next part is the emulation, and attack framework is best leveraged to test defensive solution and provide metrics to gauge the efficacy of your defense. Now, if you have your internal red team, then well and good. If not, then there are third-party red team services out there. Now, MITRE itself provides an open source tool on the GitHub. You can make use of it, but just a word of caution that before you actually use something which is automated testing, be very, very careful, because it can be dangerous. Yeah. So emulation, which is, so again, coming back to this point, emulation is nothing but, mimicking your attack and ensuring how your SIM is really going to respond to it. Now that brings us to the end of the use case review. Now there are a few questions. I know I left, I had parked towards the end. So when, who, when, and how. Now these guidelines can be used by really anyone. It can be used by you if you're an MSSP. It can be used by the MSSP. It can be, you can even contact the professional services team of NIF to conduct a review for this. The review when, which is the next question. So as you must have seen that, there are some things which are absolutely strategic, like organizing or mapping your content in terms of a MITRE ATT&CK framework. So that can be taken up as a new initiative or a project for your organization, which obviously is going to run longer. But there are some quick steps can be taken, like check the status of the workbooks, or see if the widgets are operational or not. Is the log entries, are the logs really coming, and are your dashboards visible, and are they operational, etc. Now these kind of activity can pretty much be scheduled at around on your calendar, and the frequency can be as per your company's guidelines of doing your access review. Like, every organization has like a guidance or a policy to do their review, their access review. So maybe this can be clubbed along with that. How now? You can contact me to get the exhaustive list of the guidelines for the use cases, and I'm help grab your copy and get going. If in case if you have any question, you can right now hit the Q&A session, Q&A button, and let me know. I'll try to answer your question. And thank you so much. That brings me to the end of my session, and you've been a wonderful listener, and I thank you for your time to listen me out. I know that my team members of professional services have also logged into this, and I'm extremely thankful to them for all the support that they give me in each of my endeavors. So this team, professional services at Net Monastery, we are committed to help our users achieve the maximum value from their security investment. Whether you are new to NIF or you are a long-time NIF user, the professional services team can help you improve your security intelligence. Thank you so much, guys.